Dhaka, the capital of Bangladesh, ranks as one of the most densely populated cities in the world, with approximately 23.9 million people living in an area of only 300 square kilometers as of 2024. Dhaka accommodates around 79,667 people per square kilometer, making it extremely crowded and seemingly unable to cope with the burden of life with such a large population. Slums have become a common sight in Dhaka. Data from the Center for Urban Studies shows that around 40% of Dhaka's population lives in slums. Generally, these areas lack access to clean water, electricity, or adequate sanitation. In these places, many residents live in makeshift homes made of recycled materials that are often flooded, such as the Buriganga River. One of the largest slums in Dhaka is Korail, located in the city center. This settlement is home to over 100,000 people with very minimal facilities. Residents of Korail live in inhumane conditions, with only one toilet for every 10 families. According to UNICEF data, around 3 million people in Dhaka lack access to proper sanitation facilities. The lack of access to clean water is also a major issue, with limited access for only a few hours each day. The main source of water for Dhaka comes from the Buriganga River, which is heavily polluted by industrial and domestic waste. According to a report by the Bangladesh Water Development Board, the levels of heavy metals and pathogens in the river have exceeded safe limits. As a result, drinking water often needs to be imported from other areas, increasing the cost of living for residents. Another impact of the population density in Dhaka is traffic congestion, which not only wastes time, but also increases stress and reduces productivity. Traffic congestion in Dhaka is one of the worst in the world. According to a World Bank report, the average commute time for workers in Dhaka increased from 30 minutes in 2004 to over 90 minutes in 2024 for a one-way trip. This means workers in Dhaka spend around 3 to 5 hours a day just commuting to and from work. This may seem like a simple issue, but according to a survey by the Japan International Cooperation Agency, Dhaka loses over $4 billion each year due to traffic congestion because of wasted time and fuel. And clearly, this congestion also affects the mental health of drivers who spend hours on the road, often experiencing emotional stress that impacts their social relationships and work productivity. It doesn't stop there. Congestion also causes noise pollution in Dhaka. That's why the sound of vehicles and human activity throughout the day is a problem. According to research by the Bangladesh Department of Environment, noise levels on major roads in Dhaka often exceed 120 decibels, far above the safe limit of 70 decibels set by the WHO. And finally, air pollution has become one of the biggest health challenges faced by the city's residents. Data shows that Dhaka's air quality is one of the worst in the world, with fine particle levels far exceeding safe standards. As a result, the life expectancy of Dhaka's residents is reduced by 6 to 7 years compared to areas with clean air. The condition in Dhaka is not separate from the current state of Bangladesh, which is becoming increasingly dire. Bangladesh is the largest delta country in the world, formed by the confluence of 3 major rivers, the Padma, Brahmaputra, and Meghna. Most of the country is located in a low-lying area with an average elevation of only 1 to 3 meters above sea level. This geographical condition makes Bangladesh highly vulnerable to floods, tropical cyclones, and soil erosion. According to a report by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, Bangladesh is one of the countries most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. Every year, around 20 to 30% of the country's area is flooded during the monsoon season. In addition, rising sea levels due to global warming are expected to submerge around 17% of Bangladesh's land area by 2050, potentially displacing over 20 million people. As a result, when rural areas are hit by disasters, many people lose their livelihoods, such as farming and livestock, and migrate to Dhaka as their destination. This migration is seasonal, but most migrants decide to stay in Dhaka permanently. According to the International Organization for Migration, over 400,000 people move to Dhaka every year, making it one of the fastest growing cities in the world. The massive migration to Dhaka has put enormous pressure on the city's infrastructure. Slums are rapidly developing on unofficial land, such as riverbanks or railway tracks. Moreover, The rapid population growth has worsened sanitation problems, with over 60% of the city's residents lacking access to adequate toilet facilities. In 2020, many residents lost hope for a better life in Dhaka. They live in slums with limited access to electricity and clean water. The intense competition in the labor market is also a challenge for many new migrants who work in the informal sector, such as daily laborers, rickshaw pullers, or street vendors. However, the income from these jobs often fails to meet their basic needs. Indeed, today Dhaka is the second largest textile industry hub in the world after China. This sector contributes more than 80% of Bangladesh's export revenue and makes the city the backbone of the national economy. However, this economic development is not matched by sufficient investment in urban infrastructure. As a result, Dhaka faces various problems that pose significant challenges to its sustainability as the largest economic center in Bangladesh. Dhaka has a high poverty rate. According to a report by the Asian Development Bank, around 20% of the city's population lives below the poverty line, with an income of less than $1.90 per day. While the textile sector continues to grow, its benefits are often not felt by workers who receive very low minimum wages and work in poor conditions. On average, garment workers in Dhaka earn only $60 per month, which is far from the living wage standard. As a result, many families are trapped in a cycle of poverty, with children often forced to work at a young age to support their family's economy. Many of them come to Dhaka to seek opportunities, but the city is unable to absorb all the labor force. The large labor force creates a highly competitive environment. This competition also triggers exploitative labor practices. For example, female garment workers often face long working hours, workplace harassment, and wage discrimination. According to a survey by ActionAid Bangladesh, more than 80% of female workers in this sector experience verbal abuse or sexual harassment in the workplace. The tension caused by economic inequality also triggers an increase in crime rates in Dhaka. According to data from the Dhaka Metropolitan Police, cases of robbery and human trafficking have increased significantly in recent years. Young people from slum areas are often involved in petty crimes due to lack of access to education and decent jobs. In addition, the healthcare system in Dhaka is under immense pressure due to the large population and inadequate healthcare facilities. Many patients have to wait for days to receive treatment, while those who cannot afford private hospital care often do not have access to healthcare services at all. Meanwhile, the education sector is also in a dire situation. Many children from poor families cannot continue their education due to costs or because they have to work to support their family's economy. According to a UNESCO report, around 4.5 million children of school age in Bangladesh are not enrolled in formal education, with most of them living in large cities like Dhaka. This means that Dhaka is a city full of contradictions. On one hand, it is a thriving economic and cultural hub that attracts millions of people from all over Bangladesh. On the other hand, the city faces crises that threaten its sustainability, from uncontrolled traffic congestion to deadly air pollution and immense pressure on already outdated infrastructure.